For 2 straight years, we basically had to sit here and pretend we were witnessing some historic, heartwarming father-son rotation on the floor. When anyone with a basic understanding of roster construction knew it was just a massive front office favor for LeBron James. But the moment LeBron walked away from the Lakers, that protective bubble burst, and now retired NBA veterans are finally lining up to break down the film and say what analysts have all been thinking. They want Bronny James out of the league. And trust me, when you hear the exact details Shaq and Scottie Pippen just exposed about how his roster spot was secured, through front office leverage to secure his son's contract, you will see the real picture. But before we look at that, Charles Barkley was actually leading this charge before Bronny's rookie contract was even signed, tracking his developmental flaws for 2 years, while the media ignored the tape and pretended his on-court play was fine. Back in November of 2024, Chuck went on the Better Angle podcast and called his transition to NBA spacing awful. And he stated directly that the kid lacks the processing speed to play in the NBA. Chuck said Bronny is a prospect, glad he is healthy, but believes he should be in the G League. He is not ready to match NBA defensive rotations right now. It is expected he will get baseline reps in the G League, though LeBron, of course, immediately started going on defensive rants online against anyone pointing out his son's struggles with spacing, which led to this notable live television moment on Inside the NBA. I am telling you, we cannot say anything bad about Bronny's game. We do not want Bron confronting us on center court, but that was just the warm-up because now that LeBron is out of the picture, Chuck is letting his real analysis fly. He gave a candid assessment of his offensive tools, suggesting Bronny James needs to retire. When he said this on Inside the NBA, look, I have a family too, and I understand not wanting people to talk about your kids, but I also watch the tape. That is not an NBA caliber rotation player. That is a G League guard with a guaranteed contract and a famous dad. Now the dad is gone and that guarantee is already locked in. I can analyze it freely now. Retire the kid. But honestly, if you look at the raw shooting splits, Chuck is just saying what any basketball fan watching his spacing already knows. During his rookie season, Bronny shot 31.3% from the field and a low 28.1% from three-point range. He managed to bump those efficiency numbers up in his second year to 40.9% from the floor and 38.6% from deep. Still, we are talking about a guard playing under 9 minutes a night and managing just 2.9 points per game. Those are essentially empty cardio stats, but his multi-million-dollar guaranteed contract keeps him taking up a valuable roster spot anyway. That brings us directly to Rob Parker, who was actually the very first media analyst to risk getting completely frozen out of LeBron's circle by calling this roster spot situation exactly what it is, a sham. Parker went live on Fox Sports and delivered a brutal wake-up call to Bronny and the Lakers front office. Bronny James should retire. Personally, I would just step away. I would retire. No, that is the wrong Bron. Wrong Bron. Bronny is the one who should retire. No, the other one, the 20-year senior. No. The harsh reality is that his defensive safety net has completely evaporated, and the Lakers are left holding a massive, unmovable contract for a backcourt player who cannot get on the floor without a direct order from his father. This entire situation is quickly turning into a genuine disaster. But if you thought Charles Barkley and Rob Parker are the only media members who want Bronny James to retire, you probably also believe Ben Simmons is finally going to unlock that perimeter jump shot he has been teasing every single summer for the last 10 seasons. The basic reality is that the analytical criticism of his play is only getting louder, and the next legend on our list is about to prove that even Bronny's closest trainers are starting to evaluate this long-term developmental project with a huge, undeniable amount of concern. You have to realize Gilbert Arenas spent years in the gym working on skill development with Bronny James behind closed doors. So, when Gil gets on his podcast and basically says Bronny needs to hang them up, that is a severe, painful blow to the Lakers' developmental plans. See, Gil wanted Bronny to succeed more than almost anyone else in the hoops community. He always supported his growth publicly at every opportunity. Well, you did say it would take about 3 years before Bronny is ready to process NBA schemes and play legitimately. Yeah, like, just reading the floor like most young guards, right? You give them about 3 years of development before you can really see if they are ready or not. But even he had to stop pretending that this developmental project is actually working. But after watching Bronny's spacing in a couple of games, he went on his own podcast and gave us the exact tactical blueprint of what was holding Bronny back. This highly passive offensive style is why scouts started comparing his offensive hesitation to Ben Simmons. And look, love him or hate him, at least Simmons is a 3-time All-Star, but he got benched because his refusal to shoot completely ruined his team's spacing and clogged the paint. He froze every single time he touched the ball, stalling their half-court offense. Now, imagine Bronny James playing with that same fear, but with only 10% of Ben's elite transition playmaking and physical tools. It is tough to watch. In his 9 nightly minutes, Bronny leaves the Lakers with a net rating of -3 per 100 possessions, bleeding points. That means his poor spacing and missed defensive rotations actively hurt the active lineup whenever he is out there. The breaking point arrived in April, when the Dallas Mavericks exposed the Lakers' transition defense and handed them a tough loss. On-court tension over broken plays was building fast, and it finally boiled over in a highly uncomfortable moment on live television. Bronny tried a high chest pass to LeBron during a fast break, completely ignoring the open passing lane that called for a simple bounce pass. A Dallas defender easily read the angle and deflected the ball, prompting LeBron to spin around and yell at Bronny right on the court. The chemistry has degraded so much that Gilbert Arenas did not even try to sugarcoat the situation on his podcast. Earlier this year, Arenas kept it brutally real. I know I said it would take 3 years of development. Measuring 3 years from 2024 lands us in 2027, meaning he has only got 1 year left. If his processing speed and shooting mechanics have not developed after 2 years of G League reps, it is not getting fixed here. Gilbert thinks Bronny should retire, because when a former scorer like Arenas says your skill level is not NBA caliber, the gig is up. While Arenas focuses purely on on-court production and analytics, Larry Bird is looking at the heavy psychological toll of this entire disaster. Rather than analyzing his offensive rating, Bird believes that advising Bronny to retire is actually the ultimate act of mercy. Relentless media coverage. It is completely destroying any chance the kid has of developing a normal, pressure-free life. You have to realize that every minor turnover or missed defensive rotation instantly becomes a viral meme on TikTok, dissected by millions of critical fans who just want to watch him fail. No young prospect can develop their decision-making or on-court confidence when they are forced to play inside a high-pressure, literal fishbowl. That exact environment is why Larry Legend decided to step up, speak out, and call things exactly how he sees them. According to league reporters, his exact take on the situation was clear. The kid still needs a massive amount of development, no doubt. But he cannot learn those fundamental defensive reads in the NBA, so he needs some time off. Keep in mind, this critique comes from a Hall of Famer who won 3 straight MVPs against physical defenses. Larry knows real pressure. He is saying that calling this a developmental project is a joke because of the environment. You cannot build confidence or run half-court sets when every mistake becomes a national headline. Walking away from the Lakers would give Bronny the necessary breathing room to establish his own basketball identity, free from his father's shadow. If you assume Larry Bird is the sole old school's champion who is completely frustrated by this special treatment, you are seriously mistaken. The most telling part of this whole situation is that we have a perfect side-by-side comparison with another legend's son who took the hard route. And this contrast highlights just how unusual the Lakers' approach is. We are talking about Scottie Pippen Jr. His journey serves as the exact developmental blueprint that Bronny should have been following from day one. It is a striking comparison. Both of these guards went to the same high school powerhouse over at Sierra Canyon. Both grew up under the weight of legendary fathers, and both had to start out grinding for minutes in the G League. But once they attempted to carve out consistent rotation roles in the association, that is exactly when their paths began to change. Scottie Pippen Jr. did not get a guaranteed roster spot, instead going completely undrafted back in 2022. That was despite him flashing elite pick-and-roll playmaking at Vanderbilt, where he was twice named first-team All-SC. He had to sign a difficult two-way contract with the Lakers, got waived by them, and then had to rebuild his entire career in Memphis. He went on to average 12.9 points, 4.7 assists, and 1.7 steals in 21 games during that active 2024 season. His elite point-of-attack defense and screen navigation forced the Grizzlies' front office to lock him down a multi-year, standard NBA contract in October of 2024. They simply could not afford to lose a reliable backup playmaker, and the internet celebrated because everyone knew it was highly deserved. Nobody complained about nepotism, because his on-court production proved he earned his stripes. Compare that to how Scottie Pippen Sr. handled the entire journey, acting simply as a regular, proud father sitting in the stands. He supported his son without calling up general managers on draft night, and did not have agents warning other teams against selecting him. He never pressured a front office to secure a multi-million-dollar guarantee before his kid showed he could defend at this level. He let his son earn his rotation spot. Meanwhile, Bronny was gifted a 4-year, $7.9 million guaranteed contract on a silver platter as the 55th pick. Now Bronny's dad has already left him to handle the rotation, while Scottie Jr. is playing highly valuable, high-intensity rotation minutes in Memphis. It makes sense why Scottie Pippen Sr. said this in an ESPN interview. "My son went undrafted, found a defensive scheme that fit his skills, and ended up better off than a player with a 4-year guaranteed contract." Think about that, because rigid contracts often ruin defensive rotations and roster flexibility. I think about it whenever people bring up NBA nepotism. Pippen is calling out the Lakers for burning a roster spot that should go to a floor-spacing defender, turning their rotation into a family project. He is right, because poor defensive rotations and weak on-court spacing always catch up to you. When you bypass the grind, opposing coaches target you and switch heavy pick-and-rolls and expose you. But when you actually fight over screens and lock down the point of attack like Scottie Jr. did, respect is immediate. I know you thought his dad was keeping it real, but Shaquille O'Neal took things to another level because he refused to let his name buy his kids an unearned pass into elite team rotations. Shaq's two sons, Sharif and Shakir, spent years developing their skills to pave their own way, with Sharif grinding in the G League to prove his value in transition and pick-and-roll play, before earning a brief shot with Kicks, while Shaq fought through the collegiate ranks. Even though their father is a 4-time champion, and arguably the most dominant interior paint presence to ever play, forced to ever play, nobody was fabricating roster spots or carving out unearned bench roles for them on draft night. This is why watching Bronny secure a fully guaranteed multi-million-dollar deal as a second-round pick without proven playmaking ability just did not sit. Shaq had to stay quiet while LeBron controlled the Lakers' half-court offense and organizational decisions. But now that he is finally gone, he finally dropped his thoughts on why Bronny needs to step away. Shaq's exact statement was that his son Sharif got drafted by Sacramento. Do you know how hard he worked on his game? He made the roster, could not stick in their rotation, and moved on. That is pro basketball, and I have to sit here and watch a second-round pick averaging just 2.9 points per game secure a fully guaranteed NBA contract just like that. I love LeBron, I really do, but man, save the kid from getting targeted on the floor. Let him live. The level of disrespect in that critique is wild, but realistically, can you blame him? Sharif recovered from major heart surgery and still worked his tail off, and fought through rehab just to earn a brief look on Sacramento's summer squad, only to get waived when he could not establish his spacing and make the cut. That is how the league is supposed to operate under meritocracy. But this is where the conversation gets even more real. one of the greatest franchise icons in Lakers history, tried his hardest to remain diplomatic while analyzing their bench depth on television. But he accidentally dropped one of the most brutal backhanded compliments you will ever hear about an active rotation player. James, worthy is true purple and gold royalty. He works directly with the front office, meaning he usually has to praise their backcourt depth and play nice when evaluating their on-court talent. But back in April, right before the postseason began, his analytical brain completely locked up while trying to find something positive to say about Bronny's development on the post-game broadcast. The Lakers had this rare game where Bronny logged 21 minutes, hitting a few spot-up shots to scrape together 10 points, which is hilarious because that was his only productive performance on the court out of 42 appearances over 2 full seasons. When analysts asked Worthy about Bronny's development, he carefully remarked that the young guard is making progress. He noted that it is not always visible due to his lack of run, but he is learning to find his spacing and off-ball positioning on the floor. We serious right now, invisible developmental leaps. So, the player is earning millions of dollars while we wait to see actual on-court contributions. Honestly, I have never heard that excuse for a guard before. Worthy was on live television sweating, doing extreme mental gymnastics just to protect his broadcasting job with the network, inventing this bizarre theory of invisible, off-ball schematic development just to shield Bronny's lack of on-court impact. But as amusing as Worthy's broadcast defense was, it is nothing compared to Kevin Garnett's sudden pivot. The former MVP went from hyping up the prospect to openly saying he needs to leave the primary rotation and get heavy pick-and-roll developmental reps down in the G League. Way back in May of 2024, before front offices even finalized their draft boards, Garnett hosted Paul Pierce on his podcast and tried to convince the basketball world that this guard was a premier off-ball weapon, loudly shouting that elite talent runs The basketball media flamed Garnett for that projection, with people on social media wondering why a college guard who averaged just 5 points at USC without showcasing real perimeter spacing or shot creation was being compared to Kevin Durant. Things got so weird that people wondered if LeBron was secretly funding Garnett's show to promote this narrative and artificially inflate his son's draft value. But that is when the narrative shifted. The moment LeBron announced he was leaving the Lakers, hurting their half-court spacing, suddenly Garnett stopped talking about the guard's elite potential and went on his podcast to suggest LeBron sign with the Cleveland Cavaliers because a new system would offer Bronny better offensive spacing and open court time to actually earn real rotation minutes. That hypocrisy is especially when you evaluate how Garnett earned his own stripes. When you look at how Garnett established his legendary defensive reputation in this league. Back when he was a 17-year-old prospect with elite length out of Chicago, he walked into a gym, shared the court with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and dominated with his shot blocking and perimeters, switching during the entire floor. Isaiah Thomas stood on the sidelines watching him systematically carve up defensive rotations, pointed right at him and told him directly, "Boy, you can play in the league right now." That is how a superstar enters the conversation, because KG was just a teenager who dominated grown legends using elite lateral quickness and defensive instincts, with zero famous dad pulling strings and zero front office favors to create easy floor spacing. But guess what? The internet came for him immediately. He changed his stance on that development path in an instant, got on his show the following week, and said this, "Okay, look, I said what I said before the draft, and I really believed it then. But Bronny has had 2 years adapting to complex NBA-level defensive coverages, and we are still waiting for his processing speed to click against drop coverages." Now that even his media supporters are throwing their hands up, Bronny is backed into a corner with nowhere left to hide on the court. But what if I told you Ray Allen also had an opinion about this? See, Ray Allen is a strict purist about shooting. The guy is deeply obsessive when it comes to foot alignment and release mechanics. And he probably winces watching Bronny, struggled with a broken jump shot and poor elbow alignment during pregame warm-ups. Ray's entire career was built on precise, borderline clinical muscle memory. This is a player who would pull up to the arena nearly 4 hours before tip-off just to map out the exact spacing geometry of the floor and tune his footwork until his catch-and-shoot release was automatic. It is tough. When people hype up a kid with career 37.4% from the field and 34.8% from three, Ray will easily spot the lack of spacing gravity and see through the facade. The Ringer scouting report labeled Bronny an undersized non-shooting guard, which is just the polite media way of describing a massive spacing liability. He cannot pull defenders out to stretch the floor. And do not get me started on that 3-and-D role they projected for him, because you need both perimeter gravity and screen navigation for that to work. And right now, we are seeing neither of those skills. So when Ray Allen finally broke down the game film, according to insiders close to him, he did not hold back at all, saying, "Someone showed me a defensive rotation clip of this kid. And if the team wants to survive offensively, they need to retire him. Let him find another way to shine. The modern NBA pace is just not the place." Ray is saying the kid is a massive spacing liability. But the next league legend we must discuss actually made it personal and went straight for his lack of court awareness. Isaiah Thomas is that guy, the ultimate evaluator of raw basketball IQ, who saw a 17-year-old KG switching on to Michael Jordan in a Chicago gym, containing his quick baseline drive, and told him he was ready for the league. Zeke built the Toronto Raptors franchise from scratch in the 90s because his eye for raw, physical tools and defensive length was unmatched. He is the same evaluator who recognized LeBron as the ultimate transition threat and downhill force straight out of high school. So when he sees LeBron's kid posting the worst raw production metrics and negative net ratings of the last 10 years, he knows the gig is up. Isaiah did not even dissect his offensive limitations. He just gave him some real-life advice when he said, retire and play golf. Find something that brings you the same joy basketball brings your father. Because that passion and natural feel for the game is supposed to be passed down. But right now, the demanding nature of the court is not giving it back. When the pioneer who paved the tactical way for your dad's entire playmaking career tells you to pack your bags and go play golf, the debate is over. Drop a comment. Do you think Bronny can develop a reliable perimeter shot to save his career, or should he retire? Hit that subscribe button too, because the second the Lakers adjust their roster and shake up the defensive rotation, we are breaking the film down first.